Actually, it's Terry Barber and Steve Ray, CatholicConvert.com, joining in because Jesse's out of town. He'll be back on Monday. I promised you a clip from an interview with Lou Holtz, the former football coach for Notre Dame, with Raymond Arroyo, talking about the college football season being postponed because of COVID-19. I think you're going to find this interesting.
Last week, the Ivy League ruled out playing all sports this fall due to this coronavirus. And this week, the Patriot League followed suit. The Big Ten and Pac-12 have canceled non-conference games. Your reaction to these decisions?
I think there are going to be more conferences going to cancel the entire season because you have very many liberal people on a college atmosphere that say that one COVID is too many. Unfortunately, the young people in this country believe that COVID-19 is like cancer, it's a death knell, whereas less than 30 people have died under the age of 23, whereas 2 years ago, over 150 died from the flu and the virus. As long as you're going to say, well, we can't do it unless it's absolutely safe, and the rules and regulations they have in college right now, there's no way in this world they can start a football season, let alone finish it. But you have to look at both effects. Now they're going to look at the financial effect. The average Power 5 team receives $60 million a year from conferences for football. You take that out of the budget, then you can't have an athletic program. There's no women's sports. There's no non-revenue sports along that line. It's insane the direction we're going. My feeling is you come play. If you're sick, go see a doctor. If you ain't, come to practice. Not complicated. Yeah. But we want to shut down the entire country over this epidemic. Yeah, we want to keep older people safe like me, but we have gone to extreme. Sometimes the remedy is much worse than the illness, and that's the case here.
On Tuesday, Vice President Mike Pence and U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos were at LSU here in Louisiana discussing the importance of reopening schools. I want to play you what DeVos had to say. Listen.
America's public health experts and every doctor on this task force agree we're better off opening America's schools and getting kids back to school. Our schools can do what it takes to keep everyone safe from the virus.
Now, Coach, you coached college football for over 40 years. How important is it for college-age students to be in school as well as part of a team and involved in athletics, psychologically, culturally, mentally?
I think it's important for all the different reasons, not just college. Well, let's go back to grade school. Let's go back to high school. When you close people down, and particularly in a poor area, which doesn't have real good schools, and say we're going to do it all by remote learning. That's absurd. You have to be able to learn to relate to other people, to get along. You're depriving them of some of the happiest days of their life. My granddaughter's a senior in high school, graduated summa cum laude, could not even have graduation the last 3 months. She couldn't be with her friends to celebrate, to say goodbyes and go off to college. There are so many different reasons why going to school is so important, and particularly if you look at the fact that the death rate of young people is very minimal, if any. Yeah. So let's get them back to school. Let's learn. Let's teach. If we don't do that again, this country is going to really suffer. But then again, there's some people that don't want that. Why? Because they want to disrupt everything in this country, whether it's tear down statues, ransack buildings, etc., until the election's over. I believe after the election, if President Trump's not elected, or if he is elected, I think it will all end either way.
Wow. LSU's head coach, football coach, Ed Orgeron, Coach O, had this to say about his football team. Listen.
You know, we have our team back. They're ready to go. We need football. We need to play. The state needs it. This country needs it.
He said that the state and the country needs football. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. We need sports. We need athletics. We need entertainment. We need to get back to our way of life. Back in 1959, when I just getting out of college, the swine flu, that he didn't close the country down unless 150,000 people lost their life. But you moved on. This is all part of life. There's a risk. This is the home of the free and the brave. Well, I'm not sure how free we are. We sure are very brave because everybody cowers up. And you got to wear a mask. You got to do this. You got to do that. Yeah, I think you ought to be tested on it. But by the same token, let's move on with our life. There's a risk in everything you do. You look at how many people have committed suicide. In 1 month, we had more people commit suicide than we did all last year. You can't pin people up. You can't make them alone by themselves, of fear of everything in this world, anything you touch. I'm tired of it. I'm an old man. And here's what I say. Please don't keep me alive by preventing me from living. Let me live my life. I don't want my tombstone to read, "Here lies Lou Holtz, born January 6, 1937, died July 24th, 2020, buried August 19th, 2024. Let me live till the day I die."
Wow. Like I say, sign me up, Coach. I think you got a PhD in common sense. Steve, this is what we've been saying. It seems like this whole COVID-19, it's real. I understand the Chinese got it set up to, back in Wahoo. I understand all that. But here's the concern I have is that we've stopped everything from football, from playing football to having church services, mass. I mean, it seems like we're really out of control on this. And I think that there is an underlining message here, and that is that there are groups right now in this country trying to undermine a democracy. And that's what I got out of that, Steve. But, I'm very opinionated. Can you tell?
I think that Lou Holtz is correct. I think he's a wise man. Mm-hmm. And I have called this a media-driven insanity from the very beginning. The way I view it, Terry, is that there came a very strange and scary virus out of Wuhan, China.
Right.
And everybody had a right to be afraid and cautious about it. But that time is over. And then a lot of people were afraid of it because we had a lot of modeling and statistics, and all of them have proved way exaggerated. And because of that, many government and church officials have decided to do too much, and so they want to do too much so they're not accused of doing too little. And then once we see now that it's not killing the people that it said it was, and about half the people are the people in the old folks home, and part of that is because of guys like the governor of New York who started putting COVID patients into Cuomo, who was putting patients, and same in our state of Michigan with our Governor Whitmer, extremely liberal, and they were putting COVID patients into nursing homes and old folks' homes to keep them there, and that caused a lot of the deaths among old people. So the young people affected by it are minuscule. To close down the schools because of this is absolutely ridiculous. And whether the problem, Terry, is that the secular media and the liberals are closing down and shutting down all alternative opinions, even if they're great respected doctors and scientists, they're shutting them down and saying the only position, and Google and all the Facebook and these others, Twitter, are agreeing with them. They're only going to let their leftist liberal views be presented, and they have an agenda. This thing is going to really be hit huge. It is going to be the most dividing factor in our society, I think, in the coming year, because here in Michigan, our governor said everybody has to wear a face mask if you go out of your house into any public building or within groups of people anywhere. You have to wear it, or $500 fine. And I know already that people have told me that they're ready to quit their jobs over this. And there are also, and I'll quit with this, that the schools, there are even the Catholic schools here, there are a whole contingency of parents saying we will not send our kids back to school if they have to wear masks.
Right.
And there's another whole contingency that said that we're not going to send our kids back to school unless everyone is forced to wear a mask. This is becoming a hysterical, insane situation. And I agree with Coach Lou Holtz, and I really think that he's a wise man. And there are a lot of voices of wisdom coming out and speaking about this, Terry, but in many ways they're being squelched and silenced.
I agree. And Steve, I will say this, in Los Angeles, the second largest school district in the entire country, they just made a decision they're not going to bring the kids back. And here's the statistics. Are you ready? Write this one down. Last year, 144 kids died of the pneumonia, the flu, okay? And at the same time, we had 12 children die from COVID-19. And so all I'm trying to say is statistics don't support the response we're giving. And so I would just say this, folks, just pray hard, and also don't support those politicians who are doing things like this, because we're going to be making a big decision in about 3 months. And I would just say this. We know that one of our Supreme Court justices, Bunsberger, she just came out of the hospital again for medical issues. President Trump is picking pro-life candidates for the Supreme Court. And if he becomes reelected, we know we can have a good, strong possibility of turning Roe versus Wade over. And this is huge, because we're going to be talking a little later in the show about the new demographic study predicting dropping populations declines. And matter of fact, you know what, folks? Can you imagine, out of 195 countries, 183 of them right now are losing populations? What? Yep, that's what's happening. But Steve Ray, I want to ask you, before we get to the break, a real quick